Hey, this is Dave for Dave is Just Dave, where we explore abuse recovery with an eye on positive attraction in the future. But today we kind of just have a fun topic that I hope will help us understand more of why a narcissistic type person or a toxic person operates the way that they do. And so the question we're going to explore today seems like maybe an unusual one, but the question is, are dogs narcissistic? So yeah, are dogs narcissistic? Is their behavior fundamentally narcissistic? So I have been a dog owner in my life, and let's see, my dog is up above my shoulder there, and she passed away. Let's see, uh, 5 months ago, maybe something like that. At any rate, she was a lovely dog and had tons of uh, life lessons that I learned from observing her. Um, but one that I would throw out there is this experience. And if you've had a dog, you probably have had this experience. So you're just doing something, you're busy, and you look down and you see your dog, and they're like lying on the floor, and they just look super cute, super content, and you think, oh, I'm going to pet this dog. And then you reach out to pet the dog, and the moment you reach out, they spring up, and there's something that they want, whether it's to go outside or play or eat or whatever. And you realize that that wasn't how it appeared. I thought that it was just a tranquil moment where the dog was just super cute, and actually the dog was cunning enough to know how to produce that uh, cute look that would get you to reach out and pet it. And when you did, it would have your attention, and it could sort of try and ask you for what it wants. And I think you have this experience as a dog owner. In particular, your dog is going to manipulate you as the owner. It has the most practice at doing that. And this is a lot how a narcissistic type person behaves or a toxic type person behaves. Now, this is not to say that dogs are narcissistic or toxic. So, spoiler alert, the answer to the question is no. I think dogs are more altruistic, although they are manipulative. But when we ask, what their fundamental motivations are, they seem to come out of a genuine love, and they have a genuine love for their human being. They wouldn't, if they were able to have this type of sophisticated action, they wouldn't mock or despise the human being that takes care of them. And this is the difference between them and a narcissistic type person. But when we look at how they're able to get through their life, it's in a very similar way. So, no, certainly I am not an evolutionary biologist, but I'm going to attempt to discuss this a little bit from an evolutionary perspective to try and understand. So, that narcissistic type person or toxic type person similarly chooses to live their life by charming people or manipulating people into giving them attention or other things. Similarly, there was a moment in evolutionary history, and let's greatly simplify it and say that animals that were basically wolves were living probably near human beings, and some of the wolves, for whatever reason, again, we're greatly simplifying this story because I'm sure it took hundreds or thousands of years, began to venture out and interact with human beings, probably near garbage that had food in it or food, some type of food source. And what they discovered was that if they could be kind to humans or be cute or attractive to humans, that the humans would let them stick around, and thus they would no longer have to hunt for food. They were freed from it. So perhaps, again, in our greatly simplified version, they went back to explain this to their members of their wolf pack and say, hey, we've checked this out. This is what we're going to do. Again, they're speaking this in a dog language. Again, it's greatly simplified, took hundreds of years, but said, this is what we're going to do. What are you going to do? And the wolves were like, yeah, we're just going to rely on our wolf nature, and we're going to hunt, and we're going to continue to live as a pack. And if you guys want to do that, great, but we're not going to participate. And so these species separated into Canis lupus, the wolf that remains today, and Canis familiaris, which is the dog that most of us would have as pets. And even though biologically these dogs are incredibly, incredibly similar, the fundamental nature of how they survive is obviously incredibly different. And so the Canis familiaris, the dog that we keep in our homes, would be largely unable, most of them, to survive just purely by hunting. And most of them would have to do that alone because they're not members of a pack. So they would really be at a severe disadvantage. But what they can do is charm human beings. And so they've evolved to become very good at it. So let's connect this back to our narcissistic type person or toxic type person. They also have made this almost same choice that the initial dogs or wolves, really, if you will, made to go mingle with human beings and rely on charm and not pure ability. So if you're in more of, and again, I want to emphasize, I don't want anyone to be totally defined by these things like, I am an empath, you are a narcissist. I don't really think that's a healthy way to look at it. But with individuals, they treat you like a narcissist, you treat them like an empath. And so I think that's the best way to think about it. So a more empathic type person in a given relationship is the wolf. They are relying on their real abilities to earn the respect and trust, or they believe this is what they are doing, of a more narcissistic type person. So their competence, the gifts that they purchase, listening to their stories about their day, asking them about their day, being a good lover, etc. All these things are sincerely and altruistically given by a more empathic type person to a more narcissistic type person. The more narcissistic type person has chosen a different path, and it's more like the path of the Canis familiaris dog that we would keep in our homes. And this is a life, although I don't believe they've honestly evolved to live it, and that's why they're maybe not perfect at it. But this is a life of charm. So imagine if you had almost no abilities of your own because you weren't strengthening those muscles, and the only way you could get things was by charm. Well, can you imagine how exhausted you would be from doing that? And that's something like what the life of a narcissistic type person may be. They're afraid fundamentally to embrace their more wolf-like nature, and so they create a more dog-like nature that's more fundamentally charming and look to interact with people in a charming way. So instead of thinking, hey, I'm going to get that job by going to school and I'm going to earn this and this, they may think, oh, I know the perfect thing to wear to that interview. I'm going to wear glasses because they're looking for somebody that has attention to detail. And if I wear glasses, it'll look like I have attention to detail. And I'm going to talk like this and I'm going to speak like this. And that's what I think they want to hear. And the miracle is that that works, and it works a lot. So if you're not thinking that way yourself, good. But remember that the narcissistic type person or toxic type person will always have a leg up on you because they're thinking in that way all the time. And so when they seek you out, when they target you, they are looking to charm you, they are looking to manipulate you. And if you're watching this channel, odds are good that they were successful in doing so. Just like the dog with their owner is incredibly successful. So you see these shows where some genius dog trainer shows up and gets a dog whipped into shape. Well, what really happens? When they leave, the dog can still manipulate the owner. Nothing has changed. It's kind of the same thing with this. Until you wake up and realize that this person is just manipulating you, that person kind of has your number and they'll continue to be able to manipulate you, just like your dog might be able to manipulate you into giving a treat or whatever it is that the dog wants. So that's the exploration of the question, dogs are narcissistic. Answer is no, but it's helpful to think about a narcissistic type person or a toxic type person is almost a different species of person who, like the dog, instead of the wolf, seeks to charm instead of seeking to rely on their own inherent abilities to survive and be productive in the world. So I hope this was helpful. I would imagine this could potentially generate a fair amount of discussion. Love to have that discussion in the comments. If you've enjoyed this content or you think that it's helpful to folks that might benefit from it, I would appreciate if you would share it with them and potentially explore giving a like or subscribe. That would certainly help me. And stay tuned for more videos on this type of abuse. Thanks for watching.